show you something. And here's what I want you to see. I want you to see this right here. And I want you, while you're watching, now if you're watching by replay, go ahead. I want you to describe this picture. Would you please? I want you to describe what you see. Okay, right now, I'm looking. I want you to describe what you see. Go ahead. I'm waiting. Hey, Roy from St. Pete, thank you for joining me. As you're joining me, we're just in this little coaching session, and I want you to look, and I want you to describe what you see on this paper, okay? Just type it down below. There's no right, there's no wrong answers. It's just what you see. Someone says, I see a dot in the middle of the page. Yep. Another person says, I see a black dot. I see that. Let's see, over on Periscope. Yep, I see a black dot. I see a black dot. I see a black dot. Okay. All right. Let me see. Check YouTube here. Okay. Some of you on YouTube need to get posted on there. Absence of abundance. Oh, okay. All right. Good. All right. What do you see? What do you see? Everybody post down below. What do you see on this paper? This is a coaching session. So if you're being coached right now, write down what you see. All right. Just type it in down below. I'm waiting. Another person, black dot on white paper. That's right. Okay, keep on, everybody. Let me see on Periscope. Yep, black dot. Black dot. Yep, everybody's black dot, black dot. Just making sure. What are you seeing? All right. All right, good. All right, now, here's what I want to say to you. When you look at this paper, your mind instantly goes to what? The black dot. Your mind is triggered many times and is conditioned to focus on the negative instead of focusing on the positive. See, many of you, your mind went to the black dot, but it didn't go to the white on the paper. And you know what I've learned? This is a natural human tendency, is for us to focus on the negative, to focus on the dark side instead of focusing on the light. And here's what I know. Where your focus goes, energy flows, and your results in life begin to show up. And here's what I can tell you. What you're focused on magnifies. If you can tell me what you're focused on, I can tell you how you're feeling inside. So if all you're focused on is the dark side, here's what I'm going to tell you. You're going to manifest feelings of darkness. You're going to manifest feelings of depression. You're going to manifest feelings that are all what? Negative. And yet, if you look at this, I'll show you this piece of paper. See, 95% of this paper is white. And yet your mind went to the 5% that was black. And here's what we can learn from this. Many times in our life, we focus on what we don't have, and then we're not grateful for what we do have. Wow. Isn't it so easy to look over across the street and see, you know, the old saying, what the Joneses have, or what your friends have, or what somebody else has achieved in their life? It's so easy, isn't it, to look at people who are on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and see all their pictures of how great and wonderful their life is, and forget how wonderful your life is. It's so easy. It's so easy for us, isn't it, to focus on the negativity versus the 95% of good that's in our life. Well, we've been in lockdown, haven't we? We've been in lockdown with our spouses. And so here's what I can tell you. You've been looking at your spouse a lot more than what you've ever had probably in your whole life, right? And so here's what's happening. You know what's happening all over the place? Husbands and wives are really struggling in their marriage. They're having huge marriage problems. Why are they struggling in their marriage? Now that you understand this, what do you think is going on in most couples' marriages right now? Where do you think their minds are at right now? Because they're able to look at their wife, they're able to look at their husband a whole lot more. Guess where their minds are going? To the 5%. They're looking at the 5% of what's wrong with their spouse instead of what? Looking at the 95% of all the positive things that's right with your spouse. And so I brought you this little training here today to get you to realize you control your mind. You control where your mind goes, but you got to be aware of how your mind works. Because of the fall, mankind's mind has been conditioned for generations and generations, decades of decades. We've been conditioned to look at the negative and focus on the negative. Why do you think news, bad news, the bad news is still in existence today? How can a company who only talks about the negative ever succeed? Because that's where most people's minds are. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that you don't see, you look at the COVID-19 issue. Isn't it interesting? We don't see a single person dying of a car accident. We haven't heard a single incident of people dying of cancer. Nobody's dying of cancer. Nobody's dying of suicide. Nobody's dying of car accidents. I mean, nobody's dying of any diseases right now. The only disease people are dying from, isn't this wonderful? They're only dying of COVID-19. That's the only disease people are dying from. Why? It's all people are focused on. They're only focused on this one thing. And the bad news. You focus on the bad news. People love bad news. Guess who makes money when bad things happen? The news. Your mind's more glued to it. Oh yeah, they're making all kinds of money off of you watching the news every day, wondering what's going on, wondering how many deaths have happened now, wondering what's WHO saying, what's the CDC saying, oh, what's Trump saying, oh, what's going, yeah, the 5%. And you know what happens? That the 5%ers end up being miserable, broke, and poor. That's where the 5%ers end up. You got to say, you know what, I'm going to focus on being a 95%er. I'm going to look at the positive things that are going on in my life. I'm going to focus my mind. I'm not letting my mind go down negative bunny trails with my spouse. I'm going to look at all the wonderful qualities of my spouse, and I'm going to focus on what she does right. I'm going to focus on what he does right, not the 5% of the things. If you really think about it, the thing that you're so upset with your spouse about, the thing that agitates you the most about your spouse, it's what? It's the little dot, my friend. So, hey, change your focus, change your feelings, right? Change your relationships, change your life. I hope you've enjoyed this today. If you've enjoyed this, would you please give me a thumbs up down below? Say, hey, I really like this, Dr. J. Plus, share it. I'm telling you, this is a little simple coaching session, but every single one of you, not one of you mentioned anything about the white on the paper. So it shows you that you need to be aware of where your mind's going, because at any moment, your mind could get distracted and focus on the little dots in life and get your mind off of what's right in life. By the way, hey, don't forget my free book. It's going off my website, keithjohnson.tv. You get my free book on life confidence to help you get a clear sense of direction back in your life. I got a book. I've got a coaching video I put up for free. If you enjoyed this today, you're going to be blown away by this coaching video. It's going to help you get clear, but you got to go to keithjohnson.tv. Sign up. We're taking that down. I'm putting a new gift up, and this one's going down, and it's going for sale in my cart for $100. So you better get it while it's free.